0.
E3. D6. Queen F3. E6. Knight H3. Knight F6. Knight G5. Knight C6. Queen H5. Knight takes H5. F4. Knight F6. E4. H6. E5. D4. G6. E3. Bishop G7. F4. Knight F6. Knight F3. Short castle. Bishop D3. D6. H3. E6. Short castle. Rook E8. Rook E1. E5. F takes E5. D takes E5. D takes E5. Knight D5. E4. Knight E7. E4. D6. Knight C3. E5. D4. Knight F6. Knight D5. E takes D4. Knight F3. Knight takes D5. E takes D5. Bishop E7. Bishop G5. Short castle. Bishop takes E7. Queen takes E7 check. Bishop E2. D4. D6. F4. Knight F6. E3. G6. Knight F3. Bishop G7. Bishop D3. E5. H3. Short castle. F takes E5. Rook E8. E takes D6. C takes D6. Short castle. D5. Rook E1. Knight C6. Knight C3. Bishop F5. Bishop D2. Bishop takes D3. C takes D3. Queen E7. Queen C2. Knight D7. E4. D6. D4. E5. Bishop D3. E takes D4. C3. D takes C3. Knight takes C3. Knight F6. Knight Ge2. Bishop E7. Short castle. Short castle. Bishop G5. H6. H3. Knight E8. D4. D5. E3. Knight F6. F4. C5. Knight F3. C takes D4. E takes D4. E6. Bishop E2. Bishop B4 check. c3. Bishop takes c3 check. B takes c3. Short castle. Short castle. Knight bd7. d4. e5. e3. E takes d4. E takes d4. Bishop b4 check. c3. Queen e7 check. Knight e2. Bishop d6. g3. d4. d6. e3. e5. Knight f3. E takes d4. Knight takes d4. Knight f6. Knight b3. Bishop e7. Knight 1 d2. Short castle. c3. Bishop e6. Bishop e2. Bishop takes b3. Short castle. Bishop takes d1. Rook takes d1. Knight c6. Knight e4. d4. e5. e3. E takes d4. E takes d4. Queen e7 check. Bishop e2. Queen takes e2 check. Queen takes e2 check. Bishop e7. Knight f3. Knight f6. Short castle. c6. d5. d6. D takes c6. B takes c6. Knight c3. Knight bd7. Bishop f4. Bishop a6. d4. d6. Knight c3. e5. Knight f3. E takes d4. Queen takes d4. Knight f6. Queen takes f6. Bishop e7. Queen takes e7 check. Queen takes e7. Knight d5. Short castle. Knight takes e7 check. King h8. Knight takes c8. Rook takes c8. d4. d5. e3. e6. f4. Knight f6. Knight f3. Bishop d7. Bishop d3. Knight c6. h3. Bishop b4 check. c3. Bishop d6. Short castle. Short castle. Rook e1. h6. e4. e5. E takes d5. Knight takes d5. Knight f3. d6. Knight c3. e5. d4. Knight f6. Bishop g5. E takes d4. Bishop takes f6. Queen takes f6. Knight takes d4. Knight c6. Knight f3. Bishop e7. Knight e4. Short castle. Knight takes f6 check. e4. d6. Knight c3. e5. Knight f3. Knight f6. Bishop b5 check. c6. Bishop takes c6 check. Knight takes c6. Knight d5. Knight takes d5. E takes d5. Knight d4. Knight takes d4. E takes d4. Short castle. Bishop e7. Rook e1. Short castle. d4. e5. e3. E takes d4. E takes d4. Queen e7 check. Bishop e2. Knight f6. Knight f3. Queen d6. Short castle. Queen e7. Rook e1. Queen d6. d5. Queen e7. d6. d4. d5. e3. c6. f4. Knight f6. Knight f3. Bishop g4. Bishop d3. Bishop takes f3. Queen takes f3. Knight bd7. Short castle. e5. F takes e5. Knight takes e5. D takes e5. Bishop e7. a3. d6. a4. e5. Rook a3. Knight f6. Rook g3. Bishop e7. Rook e3. Short castle. Rook f3. Bishop e6. Rook c3. Knight c6. Rook g3. e4. Rook e3. d5. Rook b3. d4. d4. e5. e3. E takes d4. E takes d4. Bishop b4 check. c3. Queen e7 check. Bishop e2. Bishop d6. Knight f3. Knight f6. Short castle. Knight g4. Knight c3. d6. d3. e5. Bishop d2. Knight f6. e3. Bishop e7. Knight f3. Short castle. Bishop e2. e4. Knight takes e4. Knight takes e4. D takes e4. Knight c6. Bishop c4. Bishop g4. h3. Bishop h5. g4. Bishop g6. Knight e5. d4. d5. e3. e6. f4. Knight c6. Knight f3. Bishop d7. Bishop d3. Knight f6. Short castle. Bishop e7. h3. e5. F takes e5. Knight e4. d4. d6. Bishop f4. e5. d takes e5. D takes e5. Queen takes d8 check. King takes d8. Bishop takes e5. King e7. Knight c3. f6. Knight f3. F takes e5. Long castle. d4. Black didn't move, white is victorious. d4. g6. e3. Knight f6. f4. Bishop g7. Knight f3. e6. Bishop d3. d5. Short castle. c6. e4. Knight bd7. E takes d5. Queen c7. D takes e6. Knight c3. d6. d3. e5. Queen d2. Knight f6. Knight b5. Bishop e7. Queen c3. c6. Knight c7 check. Queen takes c7. Queen d4. E takes d4. e3. Short castle. Knight f3. D takes e3. Knight g5. e4. d6. Knight f3. e5. Bishop c4. Knight f6. Knight c3. Bishop e6. d3. Bishop takes c4. D takes c4. Knight c6. Knight d5. Bishop e7. Knight takes f6 check. Bishop takes f6. Bishop e3. Short castle. Short castle. h6. d4. d5. e3. Knight c6. f4. Bishop f5. Knight f3. e6. Bishop d3. Bishop d6. Bishop takes f5. Knight f6. Bishop takes e6. Queen c8. Bishop takes f7 check. King takes f7. Knight e5 check. d4. d6. Bishop g5. e5. Bishop takes d8. King takes d8. e4. E takes d4. Knight f3. Knight c6. Knight takes d4. Bishop d7. Knight f5. Bishop takes f5. E takes f5. Knight f6. Bishop e2. Bishop e7. Knight c3. King d7. Short castle. G3. D6. Bishop G2. E5. Knight F3. Knight F6. Short castle. Knight C6. D3. Bishop E7. E4. Short castle. Knight BD2. Bishop E6. B3. Queen D7. Bishop B2. A6. Rook B1. D4. B6. E3. Knight C6. F4. Knight takes D4. Knight F3. Knight C6. Bishop D3. Knight F6. Short castle. Knight E5. King H1. Knight takes D3. C takes D3. Bishop A6. Knight F3. D6. E4. E5. Bishop C4. Knight F6. Knight takes E5. D takes E5. Bishop takes F7 check. King takes F7. Knight C3. Bishop D6. Short castle. Rook E8. Knight D5. D4. E5. E3. E4. F3. D5. F takes E4. D takes E4. Knight C3. F5. Queen E2. Knight F6. Bishop D2. Bishop E6. Long castle. C6. King B1. Bishop D5. D4. Knight F6. E3. D6. F4. Bishop G4. Knight F3. Bishop takes F3. Queen takes F3. Knight C6. Queen E2. Knight takes D4. E takes D4. Knight D5. Knight C3. E3. D6. Bishop E2. E5. Bishop H5. Knight F6. Bishop takes F7 check. King takes F7. Knight E2. Queen E7. Short castle. King E8. F4. Bishop E6. F takes E5. D takes E5. D4. D4. C5. E3. C takes D4. E takes D4. Knight C6. Knight F3. Knight takes D4. Bishop E2. E5. Knight takes D4. E takes D4. Queen takes D4. Bishop B4 check. C3. Knight F6. White didn't move, black is victorious. e3, d6, d4, e5, bishop e2, e takes d4, knight f3, d takes e3, bishop takes e3, knight f6, knight g5, bishop e7, knight takes f7, king takes f7, g4, h6, knight c3, d4, e6, e3, bishop e7, f4, bishop h4 check, g3, bishop e7, knight f3, knight f6, bishop g2, knight e4, short castle, d5, knight c3, short castle, knight takes e4, d takes e4, knight e5,